adventure requires a balance of narrative and gameplay elements to set itself apart from other titles in the genre. Memorable mechanics and characters go a long way regardless of the budget. Fallen Legion Revenants is a title that supremely excels at delivering a unique and engaging premise that checks all the right boxes for appeal. However, actually playing can become a dull affair. Fallen Legion Revenants partially takes place in Welkin Castle, a structure in the sky housing remaining survivors of humanity. The surface is fraught with a horrific miasma and creatures distorted by a plague. The protagonist, Lucien, resides within the castle walls as a member of the castle's council. He is a charismatic politician possessing a humorously elaborate way with words. The spotlight of the adventure is shared with Rowena, who teams up with Lucien with the goal to come back to life to raise her son, Edwin. Together, she and Lucien aim to ultimately dethrone the ruler of Welkin Castle, the tyrannical Ivor. The gameplay takes place in roughly 2 phases, combat and conversation. The former is self-explanatory in concept but can take a bit to grasp for those not thoroughly familiar with the execution. During combat, players control Rowena and the Exemplars, which occur on a linear grid system for both the party and enemies. Exemplars can attack and perform skills, assuming they have enough of their remaining gauge to act at all. Skills have a variety of effects, including altering the grid placements of enemies and including elemental properties. Rowena has spells of her own that also serve to alter the enemy's grid placements. There are multiple exemplars players can obtain, and each has its own unique skill sets and equipment. Defending is another vital mechanic of combat, as players can deflect both melee swipes and projectile shots. In all honesty, deflection is arguably the most vital aspect of combat as a whole, since it serves to break the defense of enemies to stun them extensively. Later in the game, there are smaller avenues to fighting that get unlocked to expand on core systems. While playing as Lucien, players must converse with Welkin Castle's denizens, particularly the council that resides within. He can befriend the residents and ultimately influence Rowena's efforts. These conversations are a delight to read since Lucien is a charismatic wonder. He's caring in his own way and always seems to put on a show whenever he is in the midst of conversation. The other denizens of the castle respond to him uniquely, especially given certain dialogue choices. These interactions always feel fresh and meaningful, even though most of the extended cast don't get enough time in the limelight to make their own distinct set of appeal. The combat is where the title shines first and foremost, however it's also where the issues begin to arise. While combat is enjoyable, the game deals it out in an almost annoying frequency. The narrative moves at an uncomfortably slow pace, and the game seemingly falls back into throwing you into battles to supplement for its length. I honestly grew pretty bored at several points when playing due to the overall poor pacing. As fun as fighting is, it is not a replacement for the story being told. This all disappointed me a good deal since the narrative's premise is legitimately engaging, but the game chooses not to do much with it in the grand scheme. While there are instances where the perspective switches to Lucien during battle sequence, it never felt like enough. The story feels more like a backdrop than the driving force, making you want to push forward. Voice acted scenes are not terribly frequent, but they are well done. Each character has their own vivid personalities depicted through their voice work, and it is all quite charming. One small issue I have is that the exemplars did not have fully voiced lines when responding to Rowena's inquiries during battle sequences, which was a bit immersive breaking. Also, the soundtrack didn't leave much of an impression. This is an admittedly minor gripe, but the screen transitions are too sudden and lack any fades. Obviously, this is not a massive deal, but I always had an inkling of fear that the game crashed whenever the scene ended due to the transition's suddenness. This could all have been even slightly altered to make the game feel more natural and cohesive. Fallen Legion Revenants is full of fun, engaging combat, an interesting premise, and entertaining dialogue. However, the poor pacing between combat and narrative creates a disconnect that makes the experience monotonous at several points. This is by no means an irredeemable title, however it is definitely preferable for players who do not seek to experience a continually engaging narrative and just desire enjoyable strategic combat. When it comes down to it, Fallen Legion Revenants does nothing especially egregious, it just fails to live up to the potential its opening preambles and premise set. Noisy Pixel is giving Fallen Legion Revenants a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.